The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing. Here's your host, Matt Hansen.
We have to play copyright-free music to go on YouTube. This is episode 60 of the Mastering Local Marketing podcast, and we are recording it live, correct? On WJOB AM 1230 and 104.7 FM. And also on YouTube, WJOB 1230, and we are doing it from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. We're actually recording on July 24th. And if you want to call in, if you're here driving around here within earshot or watching online, you could call us at 219-845-1100. Now, we've done a lot of podcast episodes, and the deal with this podcast and about 7 or 8 other ones that I do is that you bring in the topic and the outline, and then I've been interviewing people for 40 years. I just ask questions and then we go, and you're the expert, right?
That's what you keep telling me.
So after 60 episodes, I get to lead one, and I don't have an outline because I never outline anything for my show or anything else. But I do want to show how you can apply some of the things that you learn here on the Mastering Local Marketing podcast, which you can get on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, you brought this up in the first episode,
okay,
and we have hit it many times. It's a funnel. To get to clients, you got a 3-step process, and you got an awareness at the top of the funnel. That could be 1 day or 1 year, but you have in the middle, then you have consideration, and then you have client at the bottom of the funnel or close. It's a 3-step process. Now, to give a little background, we're going to talk about how I have applied 2 major concepts that I really wasn't forefront of my mind. I got an MBA, and that's how I met Matt Hansen. We're on the campus. I just started taking one class at a time, and next thing I know was like, hey, why don't you just go and get an MBA? I think it was one of the oldest graduates ever from the MBA in the Purdue system, and I don't even mind. But one of the cool things, I met Matt Hansen in this thing. So I have a couple of radio stations and a little podcast network and that kind of thing. But a few years ago, we said, why don't we start putting the high school and local college games that we already do on radio? Why don't we just start broadcasting them? Well, we did that for a couple of years. We did it on Facebook. And then eventually the government gave us some money. And they said, you got to keep your people working. So I said, well, let's just put it in and let's build our own streaming video network and put all these local shows on. And I thought that's what it was for. Well, it turns out that there is a massive appetite to stream local high school and local college sports. And it has grown. I think now we have 24 schools where we do all their games and we stream all of them. And we got a lot of other schools that want to be part of it. A lot of businesses. It is a huge growing business. But I had a problem. And I didn't realize what the problem was until we did, I think, episode 41 or something like that. I have an awareness problem. I have a 101-year-old radio station and some other media. But that 101-year-old radio station, we estimated that it had over 80% awareness in this area. WJOB. Frank Reynolds worked here. Felicia Middlebrooks. I mean, we have so many people that have come and gone, but we're here and we've been here. And people know 80% awareness. The problem was we started streaming these games, and in the sports community, people love it. And our hook is that we stream them for free mostly, and we do it at a high quality. And the people that are athletes now and their parents and the athletic directors and the kind of huge sports fans know about us. But we haven't been able to expand past that. So we figured that we had 80% plus awareness on the radio station and less than 5% awareness, or around 5%, on Jed TV Sports Network.
Doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't.
No.
But I applied the concept because you keep coming back to awareness on the funnel. And I just want to show this small and medium business that you can apply these concepts to your own business. So we said, we've got to do something, because ultimately we're serving the high school student athlete. We're putting them on TV. They love it. This whole thing is growing. We're getting some big clients, big names that we would never have gotten on the radio. And I'm getting a little bit of investment here and there. So we're like, man, it's not matching up. We have to do something for our awareness. So I don't know, we got 40,000 followers on Facebook, and that's not too bad. We do a big game, and we'll get a couple thousand watch hours. It's pretty cool, and it's on our network, and all of our advertisers are pretty happy with what we're doing. But last year, or even in the spring of this year of 2025, if you're listening, we're recording on July 24th of 2025. We had an amazing spring where all the local teams in every category were in the final game of the state finals for softball and baseball, and our numbers were through the roof. But in a very small subset. And I would ask people, hey, man, you ever watch a game? And I ask my people, what do you think out there? Yes, the ones that were Hanover Central or Crown Point or whatever it might be. Oh, yeah, that was cool. We watched the games all the way through. Or my aunt in Phoenix watched the game. But the awareness is way too low.
Yep.
And we're just, for us to kick it to the next level, I said, listen, let's just not take another 20 schools like we have been. Let's work on that one concept. Let's increase our awareness, at least for one season. And there's a bunch of schools that aren't happy. Hey, we had talked, I thought you were going to stream us. I go, no, I need to fix this. So I went to the second. Why don't you address that first? When someone like me, I am selling streaming video of high school athletes. Someone else might be selling food, like around the campus here. They're a pizza place, and they have an awareness problem. What are some of the things you should be thinking about?
I think the first thing you do is you take inventory of what you're doing to generate awareness, right? So, from your sports streaming network, I played sports in high school. I remember missing my open house for my graduation because we were at a regional championship game for baseball. They listened to it on the radio at that point, right? So
probably on my radio station.
Probably, right? Yeah. So, it goes back some years, but you take ownership, you take inventory of what you're currently doing to generate awareness. And if you are not doing anything, that's a finger pointing right back at you, right? So every time you have a conversation with somebody externally outside of the radio station, outside of your streaming service, right? Outside of you have a restaurant, ask them, do you know about us? If they don't, spread the love, right? Like, let people know who you are. And most people just assume everybody knows who they are. And honestly, I've lived in this area my entire life, and there are companies that I hear about, and I have no clue who they are, right? You'll say to me, do you know, David, whatever, if he works at this company or he owns this company? I'll go, I have no idea who that is. You can't know everything, and if I haven't been introduced to them, I'm not going to know who you are. So the number one thing is I would just say take inventory. Number two, what is it that you're doing to drive that awareness? All right. So from the standpoint of, am I a local business? Am I a national business? Am I an international business? What am I doing to really drive that traffic? The third thing is, before you go out and do that, you really have to understand who that market is, right? So if going back to sports streaming, somebody, let's say my wife who's 50 years old doesn't watch sports, doesn't have kids in sports, that's not your audience, right? So your audience is the travel baseball, the travel soccer, those types of parents. But you also have, as you said, the aunt in Phoenix that wants to see the game of her nephew playing in the state championship or something like that, right? So the question then becomes, how do I partner with those 23, 24 schools that you're currently talking to? How do I partner with them to get their parents and their students to understand that you're streaming the games? How do you make it flawless for them to share that information with friends and family?
You know what? I got to write that down. So, we have not concentrated on that part, right? But go ahead.
But you have to understand who are our avatars that we want to go out there and target. And then how do we make it so easy that mom, dad, the athlete, the school, the aunts, whoever can share that content with others, right? So you almost get this virality effect because they're like, oh, I didn't know I could watch, Matt playing this game. I'm going to spread that out to the friends and family and say, they're playing this game. Now, I played baseball, right, for years. I played high school ball, and my mom worked an hour and a half sometimes away from some of the ball games, right? And she would drive all the way from Whiting to North Newton. I mean, that's it's a good hour plus drive, after work.
If you're in another area, that's from Lake Michigan to past the Kankakee River, which is a long way away.
It's a long ways, right? So we'd play a 7-inning game, and she'd show up in the last inning. And, if it was something that you could watch on TV, watch on your computer, it's a lot easier than making that trek just to see a few outs, right? So parents are passionate about sports, but there's like this subset that you have to understand who they are. So, even though we live in an area that has roughly 850,000 people in it, you're not talking about that entire, right? So again, the state championships that went through, I found myself watching games because I was like, they're in the state championship. This will be cool. Let me watch a few innings or whatever. A coworker of mine at Purdue, his nephew was playing out in Fort Wayne, and he was kind of going through. So I was checking up on how their games were going. They ended up going against Valparaiso at one point. But I found myself, just because of talking with you and understanding what was going on and talking with him, I found myself watching games that I wouldn't necessarily actively go out and search for.
That's the audience that we're not getting.
Yeah. So I think it took me a little bit to kind of understand I can watch it, 1. 2, now I have to find out when the game is. 3, I have to find out where I have to go to watch the game. And, we've got a hockey team at the university, and when they make the playoffs, when they go into the tournament, you go to this website and you have to pay for it. And
that's not us.
No, it's not you guys.
Just so everybody knows, in the past years, we have been basically a hired production team, and PNW sells that through another vendor.
Right.
Yeah.
But with that, it's frustrating to me because I want to watch the game because, the kids are in my classes, and I love our hockey team. They're great, like great kids. But you can only watch like 2 minutes of the game, and then you have to refresh, and otherwise you pay, I think it's $20.
It's like $20.
Yeah. I'm not paying $20 for a game. So anyway, it's interesting because there is this subset, and there's all these different avatars that you have to look at. You may be generating awareness with the athletes right now, but now you've got to go farther down, right? You got to.
The guy down the street, in my street, and I own Jed TV Sports Network. are massive sports fans. One guy's a Packers fan, but he loves, local sports and so forth. And he wears his Packers jersey and puts his flag out when they're playing. And if they win, he puts it higher and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he will watch any sports. And I'm like, hey, man, you ever watch any of the local high school? We stream Munster High School. Their sport. What do you mean you stream them?
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, you could go watch. They're actually playing a big game tomorrow, and he'd be like, what do you mean I can watch that? And he comes back 3 days later, he's walking his kids around, and he's like, dude, I was working. He says, work security. He goes, I watched that whole game. It was really tight at the end. It was a baseball game. And he goes, that is the coolest thing. When did you start that?
Yeah.
Like a couple days ago? They go, no, this thing's 4.5 years old. You live across the street from me. You love sports. You don't know about it. I need to reach him.
Yeah.
And that is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, again, going back to the first thing, taking inventory of what you're doing to push it out there, right? So you've got a marketing team, they're working here and they're doing a variety of things, but I think that they're working more on the advertising side.
Yeah, they're not working on awareness.
Right? So if you drove more awareness, you drove additional views, it's a bigger check that then comes in on the advertiser side. So, I mean, everything is all connected.
So what I did is I realized there's another concept that we've been talking about here a lot. And that is partnering with other people that have your audience that you would like to project to. Now, there was a company called SportsWire. They came to us, and the Times, which is a local newspaper, came to us and said, hey, man, what can we do to promote? Let's just try something. You guys are killing it with the streaming sports. So we're getting a lot of these that come to us. And I know that I had consulted with you, and you're like, well, you got to do it this way, you got to do that way, you got to make sure of this and that. And you had all sorts of warnings for it. But ultimately, I made the decision to partner with SportsWire, which puts little print pieces out about every school. And then right there will be like interviewing our announcers, telling when the schedule is, when the next game is. And they'll put out these print pieces for every school. And then the Times will put our games on the front page of the Times website, which I think their Facebook's like 122,000. I don't know what their numbers are. And I got them to put the games on outside of their paywall.
Oh, nice.
So they will also be involved in providing awareness for us. Now, lastly, I think this is the part you were wary of, is, they're also going to be selling this specific conference, and they'll have a section of what we do. But, my guys are like, dude, why, we're doing pretty well. Why don't we just continue on and do what we're doing? And I'm like, well, do you know how hard we're working to get 3 or 4% extra awareness each season? It's going to take us forever. We need to do something else. So I partnered with them just yesterday and cut a deal that was a 3-way. Well, it turns out to be 2-way deal with us and the local newspaper that is way larger than us, but they're not into streaming video. Live sports is hot, and we're going to use them for marketing, but mostly for awareness that these games are on. The average sports fan will just watch a game, and they don't care. They just sits down at nighttime, but they don't know that they can watch Jed TV Sports Network for free. So I took that second concept, and I know we've talked about it in general. You're like, look at other people that have the same audience. And that was what the deciding factor. I heeded your warnings about do it this way, do it that way, and I made the deal such. But ultimately, it was awareness, not money, them selling it for marketing. We can do that now, and not not accessing just their stuff. It was also bringing in a third company. So to put a deal like that together, all of it was a 3-way deal to create awareness. So awareness and partnering are the two applied concepts that I've been able to use from this podcast.
Yeah, you basically, instead of saying, let's say you have, how many followers do you guys have on social?
40,000 on Facebook. I don't know what the other numbers are.
So let's just take the 40,000, and let's assume that only a percentage of those 40,000 are actually looking at content, which is normal, right? So only a certain percentage are engaging and all this other stuff, right? So what you've done is, if the Times have 120,000, you have 40,000, you've literally just tripled your awareness by just doing one single partnership. So, and to put it into most simple terms, you have a building and you put 40,000, you invite 40,000 people to a party, and let's say that 5,000 people show up every single week to your party. You partner with the Times, they have 120,000, right? Now 15,000 of their followers are showing up every single week. So now you have this, and I realize you're going to have some crossover, but roughly you'd have 15 to 20,000 people at your party at this point instead of just the 5. So it's that one simple deal has tripled your awareness, right? Should, in theory. And you've got a new distribution stream for the games that they're promoting. And all it was an agreement between two companies, right? We talk about partnerships a lot on this podcast, and I think that's what we're saying here is you've got the awareness side, but you also got the partnership side, that you two are working together. They have certain value that they're looking for that you own, and they have certain value that you're looking for from them, and now the two of you have come together, and your awareness is going up simply because of that conversation that you're having.
Now, I will say that in doing a partnership, especially it's us and the Times and the other print piece, those are difficult.
Yeah.
It was a lot of going back and forth and negotiating, and quite frankly, I brought it to Matt and like, well, what do you think? And he's like, well, be wary of this. I mean, it's just a test. It's a 1-season test, and they're going to sell it, and they're going to help us distribute it. And basically, we're kind of relegated to what we do best, which is actually streaming the games and aggregating the affiliate schools and then serving that up. And I would not have done that without sitting through these podcasts. I'm serious.
Well, that's good.
Your simple concept of look for those that have the audience you want. Not necessarily the audience you have. There's crossover, and we have all the parents, and we have all the athletes that go home and watch the game. We have all the referees. A big number of our on-demand is referees watching the other guy, or the person comes home and watches. I wonder if I missed that. I wonder if I missed that, and they'll be on that for 3 hours, going back and forth through the whole game. I mean, that's just one example. We're okay in that niche. All the athletic directors are going to watch their games and everybody else's games, and coaches, that kind of thing. But the average dude that's a Packers fan, and his wife's a very big Packers fan, they're not going to watch the local unless I get to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the conversations that you and I have had about, I walk in and you guys are talking about, oh, did you guys see the Munster game the other day? Or did you see the Andrean game? And it starts to, I'm going, these games sound like they're pretty good, right? And honestly, going back and watching high school sports, if you were an athlete, is exciting because you remember those days. You remember, it kind of pulls on the heartstrings a little bit that you wish you were back doing it. But yeah, I mean, there's opportunity there. And I've had a couple different companies that I've worked with, or friends that I have known through the years that have worked in this space and trying to find something that works. And it sounds like this is working. So, I mean, again, continue with the generating the awareness, continue with the partnerships and finding the audiences. But, the Packers fan, he's gonna, he just needs to know about it. I mean, he's probably not going to watch every game, but if you're sitting at home and you're flipping through the channels and there's nothing on worth watching, and there's a high school game on that's maybe your kid goes to a certain high school, all right, maybe I'll check that out, right? So, like, I think where we are today is there's this diversity of sports that is happening right now, right? So, we're seeing the WNBA has kind of been getting really, really hot lately. You flip on TV and you'll start to see different types of sports at this point, right? You're seeing a lot of lacrosse. Our school, we just launched a women's hockey team, right? So like there's all of these different things that
girls flag football in high school and boys volleyball are rising faster than any of the other sports.
Right. So, I mean, there's all this, I think everyone is looking for something different. And, whether you're streaming a baseball game, a football game, or you're taking it down to, something like lacrosse, I think people are interested in seeing these types of things. I mean, just because it's a high school game doesn't mean that it's not really good drama. I mean, you get some really fun, they're not professionals. So, I mean, we go back, you'll see things in a high school game that you won't see in the pros, right? Like we used to have all these trick plays that we would run. We'd have a walk-off steal, and I was not a fast guy. So I would literally just start walking towards second base, and they'd freak out about it, right? And we'd do all these like different goofy things. I'd walk towards second, and the guy would go home from third, right? So we had these trick plays, and like you don't see that stuff in the pros. You see it a little bit in college, but like you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, they're not Gold Glove winners. They're going to make errors. I mean, the drama builds. They're kids. So, I don't know. You've got a really interesting product, but again, going back to the principles that we talk about on here, it's about awareness. You got to continue. And, these guys are back there working on the advertising side. I mean, you probably should start taking inventory on the awareness and say, all right, how do we generate more? What else can we do?
There it is. Awareness and partnerships applied from the JED TV Sports Network. Thank you. This is episode 60. Please tell your friends to like us and become followers, especially if you're into the local marketing game. You could be anywhere. The principles are the same. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thank you.
Until next time, we'll see you later.
The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing.